In this video, we're going to discuss virtual private networks. This video was brought to you by the National Cybersecurity Training and Education Center out of Whatcom Community College. NCyTE Center and this material is based upon work supported by the National Science Foundation. My name is Philip Kreger. I'm a professor of cybersecurity at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Daytona Beach, Florida. So in this overview, we're going to discuss what is a VPN, why would you use a VPN, how does a VPN work, what do you need to use a VPN, and where can you use a VPN, and more importantly, where you should use a VPN. And finally, on what devices can you use a VPN? So let's answer the first question, what is a VPN? We can think of a VPN as a tool or service that provides users with online privacy and anonymity by creating a private network from a public internet connection. VPNs essentially hide your internet protocol address, that's the address associated with your computer, so your online actions are virtually untraceable. Additionally, VPN services establish secure connections using encryption to provide increased privacy than even a secured Wi-Fi hotspot. So the next question is, why would you use a VPN? Well, essentially, I just told you. VPN services establish secure connections using encryption to provide increased privacy than even a secured Wi-Fi hotspot. What is encryption? Encryption is essentially a means of scrambling the data you send and receive across the internet using advanced math and a key. So I'm not going to explain encryption in detail because I've done that elsewhere, so review the encryption video for an overview on encryption. P.S. If you've been surfing the web this morning, you've likely used encryption and you didn't even know it, although not with a virtual private network. So more on that in another video. And finally, a VPN provides additional security so that you can log into public Wi-Fi or hotspots knowing that you have that additional layer of security. So how do VPNs work? So here on the left you see you have your computer and you connect to your internet service provider, and then once you do that you can go out online and surf the web. Now with a VPN server, you've installed your VPN client, the software on your computer, and then from there you connect to your internet service provider and then you log into your VPN server. After that, you have a secure connection between your computer and the VPN server. So any routers and any hosts in between your computer and the VPN server see nothing but that encrypted traffic, which therefore increases not only your security but also your privacy and anonymity. So what do you need to use a VPN? Well, as I've stated before, a VPN is essentially a client. That is, you have software that you need to install on your device. And most commercial VPN companies have clients for computers, including multiple operating systems such as Windows, Mac OS, or Linux, and also for smartphones, that is the iPhone or Androids. And costs are usually a monthly fee. Now, if you start searching for VPNs, and especially if you're cheap and you search for free VPNs, you will find those, but I will say you get what you pay for. There are also plenty of websites with research reviews on the VPN companies, and so you can determine what fits your needs in terms of the cost and the various features offered. So the next question is, where can you or should you use a VPN? Well, the great thing about it is you can use a VPN anywhere, but the most likely places you should use a VPN are things like coffee shop, where you're connecting to the Wi-Fi, or doctor's or dentist's office Wi-Fi, or Wi-Fi at the mall, and particularly, at least for me, at airports. And most of all, it's particularly important if you're accessing a website with sensitive information. For example, you're in an airport or a coffee shop and you need to log into your bank account. It would be beneficial for you to use a VPN because of that added layer of encryption. So you may think to yourself, okay, big deal. Why do I need to use a VPN, let's say if you're at the airport? Well, if you've ever been to an airport, and you can extend this example to coffee shops or at the mall, but you'll see probably free Wi-Fi, and you'll be looking for the name of the Wi-Fi router, and it may be something like at the Daytona Beach International Airport, DBIA guest. Now, I'm thinking as a hacker, and this is not something fanciful, this is something that's actually done. But there's something called an evil twin, and essentially what that is somebody creates a Wi-Fi hotspot and they name it something that looks like a normal user would connect to. For example, I would create a Wi-Fi hotspot and I'd call it free internet. So if you've ever been to an airport or a mall and you wanted to connect to the free Wi-Fi there, you'll usually see a lot of different Wi-Fi hotspots. Now just think about the normal user. If they're scrolling through and they're trying to connect to something, all they want is free internet, right? And so users will go and they will select a thing that looks correct, what they're supposed to do. So if they want free internet, they may end up selecting free internet. Now realize this is not a legitimate hotspot. This is not a legitimate Wi-Fi router, but it's one that's controlled by a bad actor, somebody that wants to steal your information. Or say that you're at a Starbucks and you want to connect to the Starbucks Wi-Fi router. I'm going to be outside, open up a hotspot, and I'm going to call it Free Starbucks. So not everybody is going to be fooled. It only takes one person to be fooled to connect to that for the malign actor to get the information that they need from that particular user. Okay, so where else are VPNs used? VPNs are used heavily by businesses. So why is that? Many companies require any telework, that is working from home, to be accomplished through a VPN. And there's several reasons for that. The first is this again adds an extra layer of protection, that is through encryption, and allows the company to authenticate better who is logging in. So what do I mean by better authenticate? Well, there are extra protections that are available using VPNs, such as two-factor authentication for some robust commercial VPNs. Now, I'm not going to get into what two-factor authentication is, but there's already a video out on the NCyTE website that explains in more detail what two-factor authentication is. So now let's look at VPNs in action. So this is my VPN client that I'm using on my Mac. And you notice on the left there is that the list of VPN servers that are available to me. And by the way, that's not all the VPN servers that are available to me, but I'll show you some others a little later on. And on the right is a blown up view of what's available. So you notice down there under United States, it has Atlanta, Florida, US Chicago, and so on. And those numbers on the right in green are the speeds of the connection between me and those VPN servers. But that's not all that's available to me. Now look on the left, I can connect to VPN servers in Tokyo, Spain, Egypt, Belgium. On the right, you'll see Australia, multiple sites, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Vietnam. Now you notice the one thing that's different between these and the others VPN servers you saw is that they are a lot slower, as denoted by those numbers that are in orange. Still, if I wanted to connect to any of these, I could do that, although I don't see a reason why. And this is the VPN client for my iPhone. So it looks pretty much the same as it does on my Mac OS, and it still has the same list of VPN servers to which I can connect. So just to prove what I'm talking about, notice here, this is an older IP address I was using, but there's my IP address here, and this is from a website that shows my geolocation, as you can see there, kind of in the bottom middle. But if I connect to one of those, notice that now I have a different IP address, and that's the VPN IP address, and I've connected to Silicon Valley. And so essentially, as you see there on the right, is the VPN server has provided me a VPN that is different than my IP address on my computer. And so that provides for some of the anonymity that we discussed previously. So some, and probably most companies that provide VPN services have VPN servers throughout the world. And so here, notice that I'm connecting to Canada. Here, I'm connecting to Berlin. And finally, I'm connected to Singapore. Now the differences between what I normally connect to, which is a VPN server in Florida, and these is that the connection is going to be a lot slower, but it still functions the same. So normally it's sufficient to select the VPN server that's nearest you or the fastest, which is usually the closest physical proximity for me, which would be Florida. And most of the VPN servers will actually have a service that can connect you automatically to the VPN that's the fastest. And you see here, it just so happens it's not Florida at this time, but it's the one in Atlanta. The weird thing about this, and I don't understand this, is that you look at one of the fastest ones is also from Brazil. I don't understand that. But if I wanted to select Brazil, then the physical speed should be probably similar to what I would find in Florida or Atlanta. So is there anything else you should know about VPNs? Well, I'm glad you asked. Yes, there is. And I've kind of alluded to it earlier. A VPN will hide your search keywords and the websites you visit from your internet service provider. And that's because all your ISP sees is that encrypted traffic. Because remember, is that you're connecting through your internet service provider to the VPN server, and then there's that encrypted tunnel that's created in between your computer and the VPN server. Now you may ask yourself, why is that important? I really don't care about who sees my search keywords or the websites I visit. Well, sometimes it is important, especially for me. It depends on the individual. For example, I teach cybersecurity, so I will go out and I will investigate malware. I'll go to all different types of sites looking for malware. Or if I'm searching for hacking, or if I'm searching for specific tools, or if I'm searching for how to hack X. All of those things could be problematic, maybe not to me, but it could be problematic for certain people who have legitimate reasons to search for these kinds of things. And I'm thinking of my students. When I'm having my students write papers, they're searching for all kinds of keywords that could put them on some kind of list. I recently wrote a short paper on the title of which is Internet as a School for Terrorism. Now I'm thinking if somebody sees that, they don't know that I'm an academic and I'm actually doing this for academic purposes, because there's probably other people in other parts of the world or even in the United States that may be looking at similar terms. So anyway, there's a legitimate reason to use a VPN to hide your search keywords and the websites you visit. So in summary, we found out that VPNs are useful for adding additional layers of protection using encryption when you're online. They also provide for additional privacy and anonymity over and above normal services, for example, HTTPS. And that's something I've discussed in another video, so I'm not going to discuss it right now. I'm trying to keep these videos short. And finally, VPNs are available for a wide variety of devices and operating systems. This video has been brought to you by the National Cybersecurity Training and Education Center out of Whatcom Community College.